Final weeks of the season have arrived, and boy oh boy is there a hotly contested race in the South. The North, pretty much all but confirmed. We've got a lot to cover here on the Junior B, so buckle in for another one here on NetFront Sports.
And that's going to be stopped by Carpenter. Rebound comes out, another one, he stops it.
Third to the net, Twister, 5-hole scores.
Couldn't quite find the shot, but he'll get the jumping leap and put it in. Wow.
Bombing and weaving inside, quick shot, they score!
Isaac Nickel all by himself, this is what that scores! Isaac Nickel!
Look to get a goal here, maybe Amundsen scores!
Welcome back to the Junior Beast podcast. My name is Keenan, joined by my co-host Eric. Welcome back to the podcast, Eric. Of course, I don't really need to thank you or welcome you. I mean, you're a co-host.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Keenan.
All right. Well, we've got a lot going on here in the Junior B Tier 1 circuit, but, you know, I want to take a pause before we hop into Junior B Tier 1. We'll stay in the Junior B circuit, but, I mean, we have to discuss the one thing that's been making waves in the Junior B Tier 2 circuit. And if you have not seen this clip yet, what frickin' rock are you living under? I mean, Eric, do you want to tell everybody what this is? Because when we were sent this clip, I was mind blown by it, and I know we didn't get to it right off the hop, and we probably should have. This thing's making waves.
Yeah, so this clip was sent to us last Friday, from the player himself. That's Dallin McAllister for the Red Deer Renegades from the Tier 2 team in Jim Andrews' division. Scored this alley-oop self-goal where he came in all alone. I'm sure you've seen it already if you're part of like Junior Beast or whatever, you've seen it. Shot it off the board, caught it up in the air, and dunked it on the goaltender. Now, I thought that a goal came from a game that was pretty out of hand. So in the spirit of sportsmanship, I didn't want to post it on the channel because I thought it was a bit showboaty.
I mean,
goes to show,
yeah.
It ended up on Barstool Sports, TSN, ended up on the Pat McAfee show this morning as recording this Wednesday the 25th, or Thursday the 25th, my apologies. So we lost out. I think it's definitely over 1 million views combined between everything on there. So a little bit salty. I mean, I am happy for the player and everything like that, but I have learned my lesson that definitely clip farming
clip farming
very
is
important.
Key.
We would have like quadrupled our total views that we've ever had on our channel in 4 years with this one video, just for people understanding.
I mean, it was a beautiful play by Dallin. I will be the first to tell you that. I have never seen anything like that. And yeah, I mean, I'm not as salty. You know what? I'm willing to take the L on that decision. But I mean, hey, you know what? Great for Dallin getting his name out there and getting the Junior B circuit out there for here in Canada. I mean, like, I think it was said on Pat McAfee's show, they said something about they're playing an indoor game, that's a winter game in the summer, what the hell are they doing or something. Well, it's not a winter game here. It is definitely a summer ball game here. Yeah,
Pat McAfee show not knowing what summer ball is. Not gonna hate on them, but it's definitely getting bigger. I think it's just like you got people to understand, if you're just like kind of in your Canadian bubble, field lacrosse much bigger in the States. I just want to go to show, please, if you have clips, send them to us. I mean, we'd love to post them and hope they go viral like it did for Dallin. I'm not mistaking that again. So if you have a clip from your game you want us to post on the channel, you can message us on Instagram at NetFront Sports. We'd love to post it.
I mean, we definitely won't confirm that we can post every single one, but we'll do our best to post as many as we can. That's for sure.
Yes.
Well, while we're still on the topic of Tier 2, we did get a chance to talk to a very special guest this week. We got to talk to one of the, I like to call him a CROW co-founder. I don't know if he likes to call himself that, but I digress. We got to sit down with the one and only Cody Janzen. He had some thoughts about the Tier 2 McDonald Cup being canceled, as well as some thoughts on Junior B Tier 1 circuit. Well, we have Cody Janzen joining us today here on the Junior Beast. And if you don't know, Cody's Saskatchewan Rush play-by-play announcer. And, you know, That's just one of his many job titles. Thank you for joining us, Cody, today.
Fellas, always a pleasure. It's been too long.
You know, just for anybody who doesn't know you, doesn't know what you do, the newer listeners here on Junior Beast, what is it exactly that you do? How did you get your start in lacrosse?
So I got my start in lacrosse calling games for the Rebels. 2016, 2017, was covering sports in Fort Saskatchewan, got to meet Dave McGarva. Guy's a beauty for anyone who knows him. Said, hey, here's a couple of crazy ideas. Like, what do you think? And I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. So we kind of worked everything together, took some ideas, ran with it, and then started calling senior Warriors games when the Edmonton Warriors were playing out of Fort Saskatchewan. Couple of years later, got an opportunity to call Junior B provincials when it was in Red Deer. And that's, again, thanks to Trey Christensen and those guys. And that sparked a conversation for calling the World Championships in 2019. Got to call Worlds. And then right around the time when COVID hit, got the opportunity to call games for the Rush. Maybe took a little bit longer before I got my first one out of the way. But been calling games for the Rush now for the last 5 years. And a little bit of everything in the lacrosse world, but mainly on the play-by-play side. That's been, the bread and butter.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us, Cody. Eric Krause here. I just have a few questions for you. You have the pulse, for the lack of a better word, on Saskey lacrosse. So what's up with the McDonald Cup? The website says the registrations are still open, but I saw on Instagram earlier this week, they're saying otherwise, with the committee having to cancel the 2026 tournament.
Yeah, what a mess. And I don't want to put either of you in hot water. This is purely my opinion. I haven't posted anything. I haven't even talked to the guys in PA. I feel bad. I feel gutted. It's absolutely pathetic. But this is an issue that runs deep in the lacrosse world, and it almost angers me even more because of that. It should be something that's governed. I get it. It's an invite tournament. It's for Junior B tier 2 teams. There's all these criterias. Here's my issue with it, though, is that teams from Saskatchewan and all over have no problem traveling to Alberta, traveling to BC, soaking crazy travel costs, going out of their way just to prove they can compete, just to have that opportunity. And now all of a sudden Prince Albert wins back-to-back years and everyone just tucks their tail and they're just scared to go to Saskatchewan. Like, it's absolutely pathetic. And I know the reason for it too is that tier 2 teams in Alberta know they can't compete. Tier 2 teams in BC don't have a sniff. The crowds in Prince Albert would intimidate anyone. Like, there's nothing that holds a candle to what they've built in Prince Albert. And I think that's the biggest piss off, is you see how much time and effort has gone into it. You see the foundation the players have built. You see what Lucas, Jordan, and all the volunteers have put in to make the Predators organization what it is. They get the honor of hosting the McDonald Cup, which they are the ones responsible for bringing that back and making that tournament what it is, putting it back on the damn map. And now they're the ones that get screwed over. Like, that's embarrassing. If you're a Junior B tier 2 team and you're not signing up to go there, you're not giving your players the opportunity to play in front of the best crowd and fan base they'll ever play in their life, most likely. That's embarrassing. I just think it's a massive letdown, and I think it's the leagues and the associations that really dropped the ball here, which is pathetic.
It seems like, as I've gone through the years of following lacrosse in the last 4 years, seems like lacrosse can't seem to get out of the way of growing lacrosse just in general.
Yeah, it's such a lacrosse issue. I get it. It's an invitation tournament, but like, they're even having issues, getting teams to the Founders Cup now, and it's just becoming all optional. Everyone's got a say. Everyone's got an opinion, and if you're afraid to lose or if you're afraid to get embarrassed, you can just opt out, take your participation trophy. It's such a shame what it's become, right? Instead of going and facing best on best, sending your team to battle, giving your players that opportunity, it's just easier to pack up and run. And so instead of a lot of these teams going and getting embarrassed up in Prince Albert, or, going and facing actual competition, they're just going to go claim their league championship or whatever and just say, okay, good enough for the year. We're champs, right? Just because they're scared to face better competition. I don't like that, especially when something bigger is there. You just don't see it in other sports. And so for lacrosse to just turn a blind eye and say, all right, this is fine. That's my issue with it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we are the Junior Beast on here, so thanks for your insight on that. I just wanted to touch on it, but let's continue with the Junior B talk. What are you seeing from the Kings and the SWAT this season out east? Have you been able to make it out to any games yourself?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of SWAT games actually, and so there's a few things. I think the SWAT are struggling this year because they're actually producing players. And that's funny enough to say, but you see the Junior A SWAT are actually a really dang good team this year compared to what they've been in the past. And so it does hurt them. It does obviously affect them because they're moving guys up. And the same could be said about the Kings. Listen, they're well below 500 in the tier 1 circuit, but all their top players are playing Junior A from previous years, or they've graduated. And so what do you really expect? Like, the East isn't going to be competitive when it comes to Alberta, but the East has done a really damn good job of moving guys up to the Junior A ranks. And that's a lot of things that tier 1 teams in Alberta can't say. So you got to tip your cap there. I really do respect what they're doing, but like, listen, they're not going to make noise. I don't even know if they're going to the Founders Cup, man. Like, I just think it's one of those things where tier 1 in Saskatchewan should probably, and I know that they're producing guys, but like, you got to build up the PGLL and you got to build up your own Junior B here. I'm not sure if being in their own East division and playing those teams is that beneficial right now.
Yeah, was going to be my next question. Is the Junior A program being a little bit more successful this season? They're having their best season since COVID. There's a correlation to that excess of one and the other one stumbling. We mentioned earlier last week or a few weeks ago on our podcast that especially like the minors here have four teams to draw from, while the SWAT there really
plus they grab 2 kids from Sask.
Yeah, exactly. But the SWAT there usually only have, for the most part, they haven't even been drawing from the Kings that much in the.
They don't have a U17 team anymore. Like this whole. There's a lot of issues in lacrosse and across the province, and there's so many issues with that. So again, if it wasn't, and it's not just a one-man show, but honestly, like what Dylan Shand and those guys are doing to keep the SWAT organization alive has been unreal. And it's the reason why kids want to go there. It's the reason why you see a goalie like Kai Foster suit up from Swift Current and head up there. Like there's a ton of things. And like, again, credit to the Kings too. And like Dave Lenz, I just think that like you see guys like Cashton Seaborg, Jackson Lenz, Lachlan Clark, they're absolutely studs in the tier 1 game, but now they're on a team where it's not hopeless. Like you're just not going to go on a playoff run. Like you probably aren't going to nationals. I don't know. It's just disappointing to see because you don't have that end road in sight for them.
Well, since, you're talking about like the East Division and just the difference in play kind of thing. The Junior B division this season has seen some really interesting developments. I mean, we're talking the Central Division dissolution into the North and the South to make that 2 divisions in Alberta. The South Division being an absolute bloodbath this year. And, speaking on just the South Division, I think it's something around 30-0 the South Division is against the North and the East. Do you see the dominance of the South as more of coaching excellence, COVID fallout, mix of the two, or just something that I'm maybe completely missing?
The Rebels.
No, it's your first point. It's your first point, and it's without question. I think that the coaching in the South has drastically, it's not even improved, but I think they're just flexing on them at this point. Like the South is an absolute bloodbath. I mean, come on, 6 points separates team 1 through 6. That is absolutely ridiculous. And honestly, if the Mavericks were fully healthy and didn't lose 4, 5, I think it might be more than that, guys to Junior A. Like if they ended up getting those guys back, or who they get back, they could be the best team in the South. They could go and win a Founders Cup this year. if they got everyone back. And they're sitting last place in the South Division, fellas. Like, that's crazy to me. And you've got an unreal coach there, with the Mavericks. And I hope I didn't say Mountain View. I'm going to get slapped on the wrist. Again, the Mavericks, it's a great team, man. The Silver Tips are a solid team. And I think they go beat the Rebels the other night. The Mounties, awesome run organization. The Chill, good run organization. Okotoks, dude, they've scored 209 goals. Are you kidding me? That is banana lands. And then you've got the Shamrocks, who have allowed 20 goals all season. That's another wagon. And it's credit to the coaches. It starts with Crook and company at the top. That's one of the best run teams in all of Canada at any junior lacrosse level. And so when you've got you just got that depth top to bottom. It starts with the coaching, and it really resonates within the players. And that's why the South is so successful right now.
You might be in Saskatchewan now, but I know your heart is still with the Fort. What do you think of some of the struggles the Rebels have had this season? And do you think they'll be able to iron them out come playoff time and heading into Larry Bishop, as they are pretty strong here in the North?
Well, the 4 losses have not been good losses. Let's be blunt here. That is a team who has also kind of been decimated by injuries, but they also got to figure it out. You can't be having these excuses go through and through. They sit in the penalty box way too much. Their defense gives up way too many high quality chances. And end of the day, you can't play come from behind ball every single night. They're 12-4 or whatever right now, but it's whoa, I don't know. Is no one's sleeping too comfortable if you're in a Rebels jersey, are you? I think they got a real good team. I think that they're probably top 4. I don't know. I saw you guys posted the power rankings, and I'm drawing a blank right now. I don't know if you guys had them in your top 4. I think they're up there when they're fully healthy, but yeah, they got to get back to fully healthy and figure out what they're doing, because that's a team where, it's another, they're well coached for the North, obviously, but you've got a big task when it comes to Larry Bishop and those teams, and you could be going there and just wasting a few days.
Yeah, and to be honest, the way the Warriors have played this second half, they're kind of going up while the Rebels are going down. I know there's lots of injuries on the Rebels side, especially out the front gate, but with the Warriors coming behind them, I guess me saying, Rebels, Larry Bishop might be a little bit premature. The Warriors have had a really good second half here.
Yeah, the Warriors are they're kind of a frisky team. They're a team you really don't want to see, but I also think that they've had some real ugly performances. I really liked their win against the Outlaws the other night. Their defense was great, the offense was good, and then you see them have some real ugly performances. They go down to Calgary and just get waxed a couple of times, and you're yeah, I don't know, maybe the North is that weak. They go and beat the Rebels. Bill Hunter there, but I hate those Thursday night 9 p.m. games. You guys, anyone who listened to Junior Beast when I was hosting, I just ranted about 9 p.m. games for 2 years straight. But yeah, I don't put a ton of stock into that, but the Warriors are an up and down team. I think the Warriors and the Rebels are always going to have that rivalry, so you're generally going to get those competitive games. But the Rebels really haven't impressed me that much in their wins over the Outlaws and teams like that. And so, yeah, you can say it's injuries, you can blame it on whatever you want, but that team is so far away from their ceiling, it hurts.
Well, I know you mentioned off the top of the interview that, you kind of got your start calling games for the Fort Sask Rebels, and, you were I'm going to call you the original voice of CROW LAX TV, our predecessor. In your opinion, having been around the game for so long, seeing so many games, calling so many games, how have you seen the game evolve over that time, whether that be play style, quality of the game, or anything else you can kind of think of?
Oh, that's a good question. And so I think it's a bit two-part, where I'll talk about quality of play as one thing now. I think that the kids are so much more skilled. I think that there's some crazy stuff. You guys saw that ridiculous goal the other night, and I know that was tier 2, whatever, but I'm talking about the pure skill in the game. There used to be a time where everyone's players beyond their top 10 guys were kind of duds. They were guys out there to fight. They were guys who were just some random hockey players who wanted to play lacrosse because their buddies were out there. The depth just wasn't there. Whereas now it seems like teams are releasing players who are legit ballers. And I think that that's a crazy part. So the actual skill on the floor, look at the starting goaltenders in the Beast this year. Like the tier 1 circuit has some absolute studs between the pipes. And that stuff is awesome because it means that you don't get as many blowouts. Sorry, Crude fans, if you're listening. But for the most part, there is some absolute weapons on the floor in every single game and matchup this year. And I do love to see that. Now, on the other side of the coin, tier 1, what it is now, pretty close. I do feel like this year has been a bit of an anomaly with some of the bottom end teams. There also was a time 7 years ago where the bottom end teams were just getting fed left, right, and center. Like there's winless seasons for the SWAT. Lethbridge had some tough years. Man, there was years where the Outlaws were just the bottom feeder. Like it did feel like that top and bottom was a crazy difference, where in the South, that has completely been eliminated. So I love where it's at right now. I just don't feel that rivalry aspect anymore. And you guys are in the barn more than anyone. I see more videos, and I think that there's a certain aspect of the Junior Beast is back when it comes to how skilled these players are. And you're going to see a lot of these guys in rosters, maybe not a lot, but you're going to see a lot of them, move up to NCAA or college lacrosse ranks, guys get scholarships. There's going to be a few NLLers that come out of tier 1 this year. I guarantee that. But it just feels like that intensity still hasn't caught up to what it was 6 or 7 years ago.
I actually completely agree with that. I was just thinking about it as you were talking. That I've only been following lacrosse for 4 years, but that back-to-back Edmonton Warriors founders teams, they had like a certain intensity and a certain swagger. Like they'd come out in warm-ups, tarps off, and everything like that. And they kind of loved being the enemy, it seems like. And we don't really have a team like that right now. The North has some close games on a night-to-night basis, but there isn't really much of that intensity or hatred for each other, or the games aren't very chippy anymore or anything like that.
So that's where, and again, fully Saskatchewan bias, just keep chalking it up, put it in the fine jar. Go on like Lax Tillyman and you see the absolute hatred in Sask lacrosse right now in the Junior Beast here. It's why I'm hooked on it. Like PA, Moose Jaw, Swift Current, these teams have actually unbelievable skill for Sasky kids. Plus they're throwing them. Plus the barns are packed. It's rocking. It does have that Junior Beast feel of 2017 to 2019. And I think that that's one of the parts that I really appreciate, is that they've got the full community support behind them. But that's not to say it can't happen again. Look, I want to see the JRC rock, and I want to see it's not the Aginla anymore. Wherever St. Albert plays in that little barn, like that used to be a hot spot for lacrosse. That place was bumping. There was a parent fight almost every single game that was there before. Like it was an absolute circus. And I think that Junior B has that opportunity to bring community together just with that chaos and the pride. And I'm not saying you got to be fighting in the stands, but I'm saying that passion ran off the floor. And that was cool to see about Junior B lacrosse. And I want to see the game get back to that level. I'm so sick of the 9 p.m. Thursday night games or the Sunday games where I can count how many fans are in the stands on one hand. No one wants to see that. You guys don't want to broadcast it. The players don't want to play in front of it. They got to do a better job getting butts in seats, because it is for the communities.
Yeah, I still think it's some of the cheapest entertainment you can find around. It's $10, $5 at some rinks to get in, and you
can't do anything in life now for $5 anymore. It is absolutely the best bang for your buck. It's phenomenal.
But yeah, I don't want to take up much more of your time. We try to keep these run times a bit lower. So just some other projects you've been around. I see you've been tied with a project in Montana the last few years. Can you give us a bit more information on that project?
Yeah, we got a lot of Junior Beast kids coming down to Montana. It's been awesome working with guys like Tucker Sargent, who run the University of Montana Grizz lacrosse team. Ryan Hanavan runs Brown Bear Lacrosse in the sports barn. And so we've been able to put on Battle of the Border for the last 3 years. It's become a bit more of a, college showcase / lacrosse tournament. End of the day, we want to see box lacrosse grow, and we want to help these kids get opportunities. And so, when there's scholarship and grant opportunities in Missoula and Montana with the Grizz, we absolutely want them to get the best Canadians possible. We want to open up doors for guys to go and study at a massive university in a day's drive away from home. Yes, there's opportunities to save some money on tuition too if you're a good lacrosse player. And on the Montana side of things, we want to grow the game of box lacrosse. We want more kids playing box lacrosse. They got a ton of field lacrosse players down there, but once they start playing box lacrosse, they absolutely love it. So Battle of the Border, it's been absolutely awesome. I know we got a bunch more Alberta kids coming back down this fall. Event's going to be happening in October, and we've kind of grown that into the Montana Lacrosse League also, where it's for the seniors, it's for the pros, high-end college guys. Opportunity to go down, cash jackpots for the winners. It makes for a fun week of lacrosse, and it's just awesome. But at the end of the day, none of it is possible without guys like Ryan setting up the sports barn for box lacrosse, Tucker Sargent, all his connections around Missoula and Montana. So, I get to help facilitate a lot of it, but there's been so many people. I mean, Dawson Nielsen's done a ton, Ethan Forgrave. Like I could go on and on, Maurice Kelly. The list of people that have helped make that what it is incredible. And I just love it because I grew up an hour away from the Montana border, and it's a special place in my heart. I got to play hockey down there, and seeing them fall in love with box lacrosse and seeing the Alberta, Saskatchewan, BC guys helping grow that's been super cool for me.
Personally, like I went to this event 2 years ago. I worked with you, and dude, I fell in love with Montana immediately. If it was easier to get an American visa, I would move to Montana in a heartbeat. I love it down there. I love what they're doing. I think it's really cool trying to get, field lacrosse kids into box lacrosse. And one of the cool things about that event, man, like the players just come in the stands and they get a drink. They go to Chipotle. They come. They hang out with you. Watch lacrosse. They treat you like you're part of the locker room. I always thought it was really cool, and it's definitely a cool concept what they're doing down there. And I'd like to see that it's been growing the past couple of years.
Yeah, and again, I'm not trying to break news on here that I'm absolutely going to get smacked on the wrist for, but we're going to bring in more MCLA schools. We're going to bring in more opportunities for these guys. We're working with schools I want to bring in Wyoming, Idaho, Gonzaga, Montana State. I want other schools coming there and playing box lacrosse. It's going to make their MCLA teams better. And B, they're reaching out saying, hey, we want to recruit Canadians. How do we get in touch with these kids? And so it's all right. Come to Battle of the Border. Come to Montana Lacrosse League, right? We're going to put that in a central location. It's going to cut down costs, minimize travel, open up more opportunities. And end of the day, now it's going to, extra scouting opportunities for these kids. And I think it's awesome for the game, right? If you can go, and if lacrosse can help you with an education, if lacrosse can help you better your life in any way, shape, or form, that's what the game's about. Medicine game or not, I truly think that there are opportunities in sport that no one else has. And so if we don't take advantage of that, what are we doing it for?
And I know for sure, for the junior lacrosse kids that might be thinking about going down to that event, when I was there, I know there was that's where I met the GM and the owner of the Southern Alberta Chaos. He was down there. They were looking at people trying to, sign player agreements and stuff like that. So it's definitely a place for those kids.
Yeah, we're getting a bunch of junior
eye.
teams coming down and scouting the Montana kids, which is also super cool, right? There's some absolute ballers. And I think that there's a little bit of a logistical issue just in timing since the kids are in school when junior lacrosse starts, because junior lacrosse starts super early for whatever reason. But again, I think we're going to see a lot more Americans coming up and playing box lacrosse because they're absolutely freak athletes. They love the game, and they got different skill sets that aren't really traditional in Canadian box lacrosse.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Cody, for joining us here on the Junior Beast podcast. As always, it's always a pleasure to have you on here, man.
Fellas, love chatting, love the Junior Beast, love catching games on NetFront Sports. Super cool to see what you guys have been doing. And I know, we can talk about it, and I'm sure enough people are patting you guys on the back. But hey, well, what you guys are doing, seeing the growth that you guys have, done and the roles you guys have taken on over the last few years, man, I got to see you guys start out in the lacrosse world and just seeing where you're at now. I'm happy. I'm proud. I'm just glad that the lacrosse world gets to see what you guys are doing. And I know you guys are going to continue to elevate things and take NetFront and the Alberta lacrosse scene to the next level.
Well, we definitely appreciate that. Thank you again, Cody, for joining us. That, ladies and gentlemen, Cody Janzen, the voice of the Saskatchewan Rush.
All right. Thanks for your time, Cody. It was nice talking to him. We always like taking a chance to talk to Cody because he's been for people here in lacrosse and in Alberta and the RMLL and Junior Beast and everything that he's kind of been the grandfather that kind of brought it into streaming relevancy, and like what we have here at NetFront is definitely we take a lot of we give him a lot of credit for what was built because we did buy CROW LAX TV, so we kind of inherited his original work. I mean, me and Keenan did work 2-3 years before buying, so yeah. Just want to give him credit for everything that we have built or we have now with NetFront Sports. And just a shout out to Battle of the Border he mentioned there. I think it's an amazing event. I went down 2 years ago in Montana. It's a cool event. Like the players will come and just like hang out with you in the stands and watch the other team play. And I don't know exactly how you get involved with that if you're a player or like a junior age player and want to go down. I would definitely do it. It's like Montana is a beautiful part of America. I would definitely, like, given the chance, I would definitely move there right away if I could. But I like what they're doing down there. They're kind of trying to bridge the gap between college lacrosse and college field lacrosse and indoor box lacrosse. So it kind of mingles those two players together, gets the field guys playing box, and their whole purpose there is to try to grow the box lacrosse game. So definitely would check it out if you can. Usually around October. I know there's not confirmed dates for this year. The past 2 years, it's been around Canadian Thanksgiving. So, and just if you can make it down, do so. I would highly recommend it. And then, it was just nice seeing Cody's thoughts there about T1, just how it's grown from year to year and how it's changed. I would say, like, I've been covering tier 1 for the last 4 years. It's definitely changed from when I started to now. I mean, I've kind of worked for like a whole age group now, so it's cool to see the players that were really, really good in like my first and second year. Now they're playing senior, they've graduated and everything like that. It's definitely cool to see how tier 1 has grown over the last few years. And then, as Cody mentioned, he was able to go into the history of it even more.
Now playing senior. You're a big Foregrave guy. I know you're a big Foregrave guy.
Big Foregrave guy, yeah.
Foregrave's #1 fan is Eric. Well, anyway, let's hop into tier 1. And I know that these can often be controversial, so we might as well start explaining them. Let's look at the Week 9 power rankings that we got. If you haven't seen them yet, you can check them out, NetFront_sports on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook as well, and TikTok. I don't think we post the power rankings on either of those, but you can definitely check them on Instagram and X, formerly Twitter. Eric, do you kind of want to go through yours? Because I know you had a little bit less movement than I had, but you had a little more drastic movement than I had.
Yes, so I had the Calgary Chill and the Edmonton Warriors both going up drastically in my rankings, mostly due to the Fort Saskatchewan Rebels going down 2 spots. Just my thought process on the Rebels going down, I think they're very injured right now. They had a couple injuries at their front gate, and they haven't seemed to have recovered from that. They're still winning games. Like, they beat the Outlaws twice, but they were very close games with the Outlaws. And then just when you think the Rebels aren't playing well and they're dead, they go down to Calgary and beat the Mountaineers. But just they haven't been playing their best lacrosse here. I'm a little bit worried. I've been told from some sources that this is their team. And like, who's injured now is probably injured the rest of the season. I mean, we still have a roster deadline coming up. I guess we could talk about it a bit. I've heard names like Carter Grace going around. Carter Grace got dropped from the junior minors. Then he came back to the Outlaws, played 1 game, hasn't played since. So I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's holding out. So maybe a name they move at the deadline. It's really hard for me to see Grace playing for anybody but the Outlaws. I mean, he got drafted by them first overall a few years ago. Even before then, he AP'd in the Larry Bishop for them. He like helps with their drafts and everything like that. So just like a Carter Graceless Outlaws is kind of weird for me, but it's a name I would watch at the deadline.
That's like talking about an Ovechkin-less Washington Capitals, basically.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit less extreme, but yeah.
You know what I mean, though.
In a sense, yeah. I also had the Warriors going up 3 spots because I think, to be honest, right now they're playing the best in the North. Kind of stumbled in Calgary last weekend. They did get a tie, but against those Mounties, they tied them 6-6. But I think they're playing better. I think Graham's really, he was a first overall pick for them in this draft. I think he's really established himself as a good junior goaltender. Dude's huge. He's 6'8", like 320. Like, he covers so much of the net. You have to get him moving side to side unless he's gonna stop it. So I think he's found his game. I think the Warriors' offense is just a well-coached team there. They've really come together. They drafted well. This Warriors team was horrible last year, coming off of kind of selling the farm to try to make a run the year before, with the Fodchuk deal. But I think they've drafted well. I think they're playing well. I think they're playing the best in the North right now. And then, the Mountaineers, I dropped 4 spots. That one's just, they went on a 6-game heater in the middle of the season here. Since then, they've gone 3 winless. Lost 11-7 to the Rebels, then 10-9 to the Chill, and then they tied the Warriors 6-6. So playing against some good competition, they seem to be fizzling out. If I had to pick any team in the South that seems to be fizzling out right now, it would be them. They still hold that last playoff spot with 18 points. Silvertips behind them with 17. Same with the Mavericks. The Silvertips have 15 games played, so a little bit on the outside looking in there. You have a Mavericks versus Mounties game on July 4th, the second last day of the season. That could be a very important game when it comes to playoff seeding. So that's something to keep an eye on. I don't know. I just see the Mounties schedule. It's tough the rest of the season. I don't know. They have Shamrocks, Kings, Mavericks, Marauders. That's a tough spot for them to hold on. I don't think they've been playing their best lacrosse. And then I just want to mention, like, in the rest of the bottom of the rankings, nothing's changed there. Regina has 5 wins. Most of them have come against the SWAT, though. And then Beaumont has been playing so good here. They got the win over the Crude last week, and they've been playing so well here, just not getting the wins. And then I couldn't drop the Rampage because the Rampage beat the Silvertips, like one of the only North wins against the South team this season. And the bottom of my standings are boring. Shamrocks I have first. I just think they're the premier team in this league still, but man, that Marauders team is super, super good. And I'm worried, and I've talked about it before on previous podcasts and shows, they might just outscore everybody when it comes to the playoffs. They have 210 goals already. Their goal differential is 102. Their offense might just be too good for anybody to stop them in a playoff series. But yeah, that's my rankings.
All right, yeah, I guess we'll switch over to mine. So I'll start because you have the Shamrocks at 1. I have them at number 2. I have the Marauders and the Shamrocks flipped. It's so hard to choose between those two, man. The Marauders and the Shamrocks are both just such premier clubs this year, and honestly, those could change anywhere.
It's defense versus offense. That's your typical
100%.
And that's not disparaging the Marauders defense. The Marauders defense has played very good this season as well. But when you think of a defensive stout team, it's the Shamrocks.
100%. This is where we kind of start to differ. I know you and I both now have the Chill at number 3. We both have the Warriors at 4, and I've bumped the Warriors up 2 spots here. They were at number 6 last week for me. And I think my rankings very much are similar to yours, like the reasoning for the Warriors going up. Is they're playing great ball right now. I mean, you take a look at the Warriors' previous games, yeah, sure, okay, the 6-6 tie and the 9-6 loss to the Chill last weekend. But you look before that, a 4-game heater where they beat the Outlaws, the Crude, the Rampage, the Rebels. Great. Sure, they struggle against the Marauders and the Silvertips, but the Warriors are starting to heat up at the right time because now we're looking back at the first half of the season. If we stick in the second half, the Warriors heating up at the right time is important. Sure, they have 2 games left, the CROW and the Outlaws, which we'll get to a little bit later. We'll get to the schedules kind of remaining for everybody. But I think the Warriors heating up at this time and, even tying out with the Mounties, that's an important game to be tying out, because the Mounties, sure, all right, they may be a little bit lower on both our power rankings, but that's nothing to snuff at, is tying that, especially with the way that the pillow fight has been in the North so far this year.
Yeah,
the Rebels I have... Oh, sorry.
I was going to just interject. The Warriors haven't lost a divisional game since May 22nd.
Yeah,
and
which is
in the
insane.
playoffs, you only play your division. So that's why I'm very high on the Warriors right now.
100%. They're heating up against the North clubs when they need to, which is important. The Rebels and the Mounties both drop 1 spot for me to respectively 5 and 6. This, again, the same reasoning. The Rebels struggling a little bit here down the stretch. I mean, yeah, sure, they win 6-5 against the Outlaws, but that's a game where up until the final, I think it was 3 minutes of that game, the Outlaws were leading the Rebels for almost the entirety of that game. Like,
we were talking streak. We were talking streak ending. Anybody that doesn't know, the Outlaws have lost like 28 straight games to the Rebels. So yeah, we've mentioned this streak a couple of times because the Outlaws have been really close games with the Rebels, and every time we've mentioned the streak on the broadcast, it all falls apart. So
it's like the shutout curse.
Yeah, our apologies on that one.
Yeah, we apologize to the Outlaws coaching staff for that one. But you look at the other Rebels games, they lose 10-5 against the Silvertips. And other games that they have won recently, the Mounties, the Outlaws twice, and the Rampage. They've also lost to the Warriors and the Shamrocks, which, if we're talking strictly the, playoffs, whatever, losing to the Warriors is important. And again, we will get into the playoff matchups, or the all but confirmed playoff matchups, a little bit later here in the show. Sure, you can knock off the Shamrocks 10-3 loss. You can say that's a road game. Okay, whatever. Big whoop. Or I believe it's a road game. No, it was a home game. Sorry, I apologize. I have my schedule here backwards. So yeah, I think the Rebels they're struggling a little bit right now, and their last 2 games of the season here, SWAT and CROW, those will be important to kind of see where they're going. I think it may hurt them going into playoffs, not having that elite. I don't want to say that they're not elite, but you're not playing teams like the Marauders and the Shamrocks for your last games. You're not coming out against teams that you could visit in the Larry Bishop and have a low scoring, high scoring, back and forth affair kind of thing, right? So I think the Rebels may be on the back foot right now, but we'll see how they come down the stretch here. And the Mounties, kind of the same thing, like you said, the Mounties struggling recently, minus that win over the Outlaws back on, what was it here? June 6th. Yeah, nothing really more to say there. Mavericks sit at number 7 for me. They're looking strong. This is where I think things get controversial for me for this week, is I've dropped the Silvertips by 2 spots this week to number 10, and have bumped the Rampage and the Outlaws up by a spot into 8 and 9. And this just comes from the Silvertips having some late season struggles as well. You look at their late season struggles here, you take out the win against the Rebels, and their most recent win against the Kings back on June 13th. The Silvertips lose to the Rampage, lose to the Mounties, lose to the Chill, lose to the Marauders. They have won 2 games since the start of June. Which, I mean, yeah, okay, you're playing 6 games maybe total, but still, you're not 500 right now in that South Division. And with the bloodbath that the South Division is, I think the Silvertips very likely could be on the outside looking in, especially with the strength of schedule late here in the season. Whereas the Rampage and the Outlaws, they've been playing very stellar ball as of late, as comparative to their early season, which I felt warranted a bit of a jump there. And then King, SWAT, and CROW will round out my 13.
Yeah, I will say the Silvertips, now I'm looking at their schedule, they have 3 wins all season against opponents that are above 500.
Yeah, it's a tough outlook for the Silvertips, and like I said, we'll get into those final weeks of the regular season here very shortly. Any final thoughts on power rankings, Eric?
No, I just wish I could. It's hard to include, it's hard for power rankings for this league because like the East is so off on their own. Like I'd really love to have Regina up higher. They have 5 wins over, like the Outlaws who have 3 and like stuff like that, but they're just out there playing against the SWAT for the most part. Although I do think the Kings have come into Alberta and have played competitively.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't know, just we won't see them really until Delary Bishop, so it's really hard to judge how they're going to stack up.
100%. Well, I did mention it, so we'll take a brief look here at the final weeks of the regular season. Well, let's take a look through the standings, and we'll take a look at the strength of schedule left for everybody. I want to start out east because these are the Kings and the SWAT right now. 14 games played for the Kings, 13 for the SWAT. Kings lead 10-2 in the standings for points wise. It's looking like they are going to one more win and they'll secure first. I believe 1 Kings win and 1 SWAT loss will secure first for the Kings there in the East. So yeah, you go and look at the East Division. The Kings still have the Silvertips and the Mounties here in Alberta. And then they will play the Chill twice to round out the season back home in Regina. The SWAT, on the other hand, have 3 games here in Alberta. That's the Mavericks, Outlaws, and Rebels. And then we'll play the Rampage twice in Saskatoon to round out their season. I think when you look at the remainder of the season, the SWAT have a bit of an easier schedule compared to the Kings. I mean, the Kings are facing the Chill twice, and the Chill haven't been anybody to snuff at. Silvertips, yeah, sure, I have them lower on my power rankings, but it's not like they're playing necessarily horrible lacrosse. And the Mounties, same thing, it's not like they play horrible lacrosse. The SWAT, the Mavericks game is going to be tough. That is going to be a very tough game for them. Outlaws, Rebels, Rampage. I think for all 4 of those games, anything can kind of go either way. Yeah, Eric, any thoughts?
I mean, I don't want to be rude and blunt, but are we thinking like this could be all the wins the East gets the rest of the season? If you look both their strength of schedules, they're pretty hard. They don't play against each other anymore, and there's a lot of Southern opponents there. So these standings might be sitting the way they are. I know the SWAT have dealt with a lot. So the SWAT
ain't that the truth?
They, as Cody mentioned earlier in the podcast, they do get vultured by their A team. I have some notes here. The SWAT Junior A team played in Calgary last weekend. They had so many injuries on defense that they had to fly a Saskatchewan Junior B player out from Calgary or to Calgary on Sunday after playing 2 games on Saturday just to have a competitive roster. So it looks like this Junior B SWAT team is going to have even more players called up because of all the injuries to the SWAT Junior A team. And like, I don't know if they're able to withstand that. Like the ecosystem seems to hurt them more. So I think it's a bit tough for the SWAT to come back this season and try to take out the Kings in the regular season. The playoffs, who knows? I don't exactly remember the format. I don't know if they play a best of 3. I believe it's best of 3.
I think it's a best of 5 because it's just them.
Is it a best of 5 now? Okay.
Because it's just them, I believe it's a best of 5. I'll double check that while you keep going here.
East playoffs, 1 round of playoffs, best of 7 series.
Oh, it's a best of 7. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so
that is different than I thought it was. Okay.
That is definitely
That's
interesting. I would have to give, just based off the notes I have here we get notes every weekend from the Eastern teams, from Nathan Bergen, the guy from the Saskatchewan SWAT. He's their broadcast guy.
Thank you again,
He gives
Nathan,
me notes
for everything.
He gives me
that
notes
you give
every
us.
week. Looks like the Kings are in a much better start, or a much better position to end the season than the SWAT. The SWAT Junior B team going to be helping that Junior A team and get through the rest of the season with all those injuries on defense. Yeah, that's all I have for the East. They're just in a tough uphill battle.
100%. Well, let's take a look at the North next before we get into the, again, as we've dubbed it, the bloodbath of the South. So looking at the North standings right now, you've got Rebels, Warriors, Rampage, Outlaws, CROW. It's essentially all but confirmed at this point. I mean, it is confirmed that the Rebels will have the number 1 seed, as no other team can reach them at the 24-point mark. You got the Warriors, currently second, 16 games played, 15 points. Rampage sitting behind them with 14 played, 12 points. Outlaws, 14 played, 6. and CROW 14 played and 0. I think the big thing coming down the stretch here is going to be the two races that we're seeing, because the Rebels are basically done and dusted. Let's just quickly look at their schedule. 2 games left, SWAT and CROW. Those games, I think we can say, will likely be wins for the Rebels, so they will likely finish the season with 28 points. That's not to say that neither of those teams can win, because the SWAT and the CROW can still win games this season. I mean, the CROW, 0 points. However, that is important to touch on is that let's start with that 4 and 5 race for that final spot in the North. The Outlaws still have 4 games remaining, 6 points. CROW 4 games remaining, 0 points. Theoretically, there's 8 points on the table for each. If the Outlaws lose out for the remainder of the season and the CROW somehow have a miracle ending to this season and win out, the CROW will take that final playoff spot and play the Rebels in round number 1. Taking a look at their schedules, starting with the Outlaws 4 games remaining are SWAT, Rampage, Warriors, and CROW. The CROW's remaining are Warriors, Chill, Rebels, and the Outlaws. I definitely think that when you look at this, the Outlaws likely have an easier path in, and even 1 win and 1 CROW loss will seal the fate. But it's not improbable. And that's where it intrigues me, is that we're into the final 2 weeks of the season, and we're still talking about the final playoff spot there. Looking at the 2-3 race of the Warriors and the Rampage, this one is the one that I have higher on my radar, simply because you've got, 4 points left on the table for the Warriors, but 8 left on the table for the Rampage, which means even if both these teams win out for the remainder of the season, the Rampage will actually get home floor advantage. As we look at their remaining games, Warriors face the CROW and the Outlaws. The Rampage, 4 road games to end their season, with the Marauders, Outlaws, and 2 games against the SWAT. I do think the Warriors have the easier path again. I think it's basically 1 win, and it's essentially kind of sealed. I don't know if the Rampage can necessarily take down the powerhouse of the Marauders, but again, not improbable.
I will say, if the Rampage do go on the road and beat the Marauders, it's in their path. They just need to run the table, play Outlaws,
100%.
SWAT, and they're all of a sudden hosting a first-round matchup there against the Warriors. I know we're going to have that first-round semifinals. We are going to go down to Red Deer and broadcast the games, even though they haven't been on the network the whole season. We will have that full series.
I guess that's technically breaking news here on the Junior Beast, is that we will be having the Rampage series no matter what. We will be broadcasting out of Eagle Builder Center.
Yeah, it's technically in Blackfalds for everybody around there. If you want to come watch that game, if you go to Red Deer, you will not find the building.
You'll overshoot a little bit.
Yeah. I'd have to give the inside track here to the Warriors on that one. Outlaws and CROW, I just don't. The 2 teams they've handled well all season.
Yeah.
I will say, with that last matchup, you're talking 4-5. The CROW were beating the Outlaws 4-0 last week after the first period.
Exactly.
And then they end up getting outscored 16-1 in the final 40 minutes. It's just, that was like the game they needed. The CROW had 2 games against the Outlaws on their schedule. If they would have won both those, then we're having a serious conversation about them sneaking into the playoffs. It's still mathematically possible, but it is much more unlikely
improbable
than it was before this weekend. Yeah, it's not impossible. I still think it'll finish Rebels, Warriors, Rampage, Outlaws. I think it's kind of where they're at now. I think it'll finish that way. But yeah, the Rampage they control their own destiny. They just need to run the table.
Absolutely. And given the state of the North, I know we'll touch on those all but confirmed matchups here coming up after we touch on the South Division, which, man, I don't even know what to say anymore about the South Division. Like, this is just ridiculous, because all of these clubs are over 500, and I just look at this, and again, I shake my head that 2 of these clubs are missing out on the playoffs, man. Like, it's ridiculous.
The gap is starting to stretch a bit more between 1 and 6 than we saw a few weeks ago. Like 2 weeks ago, I think they're all separated 1 to 6 by 3 points. It is starting to stretch a bit. The Shamrocks have 6 over the final playoff spot. They're basically all but guaranteed. They're clinching the playoff spot. I think my prediction here is I think the Mavericks might jump the Silvertips and Mounties, and the Mounties might fall out. Mounties' schedule is just really hard the rest of the season, and they haven't exactly played their greatest lacrosse, and I'm sure they would admit that too. And then the Mavericks' schedule the rest of the season, it isn't easy though, but they do have the SWAT tomorrow in Stettler.
Technically today when you're hearing this podcast.
Yeah. And then they end their season with Shamrocks, Mounties, Silvertips. As mentioned before, that Mavericks Mounties game on the 4th, that could be huge when it comes to playoff implications there. First seed race, I think it's going to come down between the Shamrocks and the Marauders. The Chill, I don't even think the Chill are playing bad. Like, I expect almost all these teams to, end the season really strong. I don't even think the Chill are playing bad. I don't expect many of these South teams, unless they're playing each other, like the Shamrocks and Marauders, which they do once. They play on Friday, July 3rd.
The final weekend of the season.
I just don't expect these teams to be dropping games against, like, any games having against the North and East. So it's one of those things where, like, the Chill could win out, but it doesn't matter because the Shamrocks could also win out. So,
yeah. Yeah, this South Division is very interesting. Yeah, as Eric mentioned, we'll just take a quick look here. So the Shamrocks, again, sitting up top there, play the Mounties, Mavericks, Marauders, and Silvertips. The Marauders will take on the Rampage, Chill, Shamrocks, and Mounties. The Chill will take on the Crude, Marauders, and the Kings twice. The Mounties will take on the Shamrocks, Kings, Mavericks, and Marauders. I know some of these are repeats, but that's okay. The Silvertips, our remaining schedule, is the Kings, Shamrocks, and Mavericks. And the Mavericks' remaining schedule is the SWAT, Shamrocks, Mounties, and Silvertips. So yeah, as you said, I think this is going to be very interesting. And yeah, those are two high-profile matchups on back-to-back days right to end the season. Marauder, Shamrocks, and the Mavericks, Mounties games. And to boot at that, I mean, you were mentioning the Mounties and Mavericks game could be a big one, but Mavericks Silvertips on Sunday the 5th on the final day of the season could be just as important for that matchup as well.
Yeah, they're chasing the Mounties. That's my thing.
No, that's valid. But
yeah.
I mean, the Mavericks sitting last, I mean, they're also in, well, I guess they're not as much chasing the Silvertips since the Silvertips have one extra game played. So I guess, yeah, technically you're right. Okay.
I would like to state
valid.
We're at 14 games played throughout the season for every single team, and the last
except
place,
the Silvertips.
Yeah, the last place team, or I meant 14 or more. The last place team in the South would still have the second seed in the North.
Yeah,
it is gross that there's going to be two teams sitting in the South not watching, and or not being able to play and having to watch, like a 4-win team in the playoffs.
100%. Well, before we preview those North matchups, as we mentioned a few moments ago, let's take a look at this week's Beast of the Week. Eric, take her away.
Beast of the Week, I was told it was given to me. I was told it should be, you actually threw this on me. It's going to be Carter Mitchell from the Outlaws. He's had an amazing season for them. He has done, he's been one of the bright spots for that Outlaws team. And then last weekend, he played a game for the Junior A minors started at 1 p.m. And then I believe he made it to his Outlaws game that started at 4 p.m. and then scored 9 points against the Crude.
And he played both. That's insane.
Yeah, he played both games. He played for the minors and then for the Outlaws in the same day. So maybe he doesn't have the biggest point production of the weekend, but just the sheer fact, and I know other players do this too, but just the sheer fact of, walking in, playing 2 games one day, scoring 9 points in the other. Your team goes down 4-0 in the second game. You crawl all the way back. He's going to be my Beast of the Week.
Absolutely.
It's been a long time since we've given it to an Outlaw as well. So
yeah, I think the last Outlaw was Carter Grace that actually ended up winning Beast of the Week, I'm pretty sure. And I think that was last season too. Well, let's take a look at those North Division matchups that essentially are on track to happen, barring something major shifting kind of in that schedule. Again, that will be the Rebels versus the Outlaws and the Warriors Rampage. Eric, where should we start? Do we want to start with the Warriors Rampage or Rebels Outlaws?
Well, let's start with the Rebels Outlaws. We'll go through these relatively quickly. Just something I want to touch on because
We'll go more in depth in the coming weeks too before the playoffs
we will have
start,
a full-fledged, playoff preview show. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be Rebels versus Outlaws, 1 versus 4 seed. Rebels have, as we mentioned, beaten the Outlaws every game this season, as I'm waiting for this very slow RMLL website
Okay, I'm glad it's not just me.
load up.
The website's definitely busted right now.
Load up. Although the last 2 meetings between these two teams have been very, very close. I can just speak on that. I was at both of them. Outlaws tied at home 7-7 after 2. Ended up losing that game. I believe it was like 13-9 or something.
12-8.
Something like that. 12-8. There we go. And then most recently, they were leading for 55 and a half minutes before, Bennett Fry kind of took over and, had his stamp on that game. I've been a big Outlaws fan. Oh, I'm not going to lie. Like, I know we're media, we're supposed to be unbiased, but I came into lacrosse doing basically every single Outlaws game. Kind of a big fan. I have a soft spot for them. It is a very uphill battle for them against the Rebels. I mean, just look at history, 28 games or something like that, including playoffs. They've never beat them. They haven't beat them since 2017. This has got to be one of their best chances to do so. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I would give the betting odds would be very, very in favor of the Rebels, in my opinion. But this Rebels team, they look injured. There's nothing they could do about that. Even Will Horn went down last weekend. I hope he's okay, but he ended up leaving a game in the first period. They lost a bunch of guys out of the front gate in that game against the Warriors. I've been told from some sources that this is kind of their team, that the players that are still out are going to be out for the playoffs. So it's a team that I think right now, if the Outlaws play their best game and stay out of the box, that's been an issue with them. They have a discipline issue. They play their best game. I think they can take a game off the Rebels. If I was a betting man, I would still bet on the Rebels to win this series. I just don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be like a 17-4, like 18-5 back-to-back game 1, game 2 type of series.
Yeah, no, I'd fully agree. I think the Outlaws have definitely shown that they can put their foot on the gas and not let up, especially in that 6-5 loss that they had to the Rebels. Again, that is not to discount anything that the Rebels have done, not to discount anything the Outlaws have done for the remainder of the year. I think that you look at the standings alone, you look at the paper alone, and you're going to see a very different story than what you're actually going to see on the floor. And I think what you're actually going to see on the floor is a lot stronger of a matchup than that paper will lead you to believe. And I think, that this series could easily stretch to 3 games, without a doubt.
Yeah, I'm still, like I said, I'm still giving the Rebels the best chance to win this series. I think
Same here.
I think we're going to have an absolute banger of a North final. It wasn't looking that way for the first half of the season. It looked like the Rebels were just going to walk over whoever they played in the North final. It looks like that North final might be a bit more competitive now, which, again, is only because not only the Warriors have played better as the season's gone on. The Rampage have been played better as the season's gone on. But a major impact is the Rebels, just losing some players and stuff like that. And that's hard to recover. I mean, even last weekend, the Rebels were using 4 APs in the game. It's hard to bring in those minor lacrosse players and have them play against, 4th year and 5th year junior players.
100%. So the winner of that Rebels Outlaws series will play the winner of the Warriors and, wow. I'm looking at the Rampage's name and I totally blanked on how to English. So they will play the winner of the Warriors Rampage series. And I think that series is going to be a barn burner of a series. The last time that these two teams played each other was back on June 5th. The Warriors took a 9-8 victory And the time before that, the Warriors had a 12-7 victory. And the first time they played, sorry, I forgot they played each other 3 times this year. The first game actually went the Rampage's way, where they beat them 11-10. This could be an insane matchup for round number 1, and unfortunately, we only get to see a possible 3-game series when this could easily be a banger 7-game series.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting series for sure. I haven't seen the Rampage play as much as game I've seen them play in person was against the Crude, which they didn't didn't start that game too well. They ended it strong. I don't know. This is it's going to be an interesting series for sure. I think you'd be foolish to think it might not go they're foolish to think it wouldn't go 3. I would like to see it go 3. I'd like to see a winner take all series. It's definitely fun to watch. I think the Warriors have had a much better run of late. Like I said, I think their team has starting to come together. Rampage will be interesting to see how they finish the season. They have 4 road games. They do have some good wins. I mean, they had 16-11 over the Silvertips lately. They had a kind of close game there with the Mavericks. They're a team that's been kind of up and down. They've been hard to kind of judge this year. At the beginning of the season, they started out 3-2, kind of dominating the North Division in those games. So they've definitely, coming into the season, I had them second. So I'm not too surprised that they would be fighting for that second spot as the season winds down here.
Well, I think that about does it here for this week here on the Junior Beast podcast. Eric, again, thank you for joining me as co-host. I don't need to thank you, but I feel the necessity to thank you as a Canadian. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how these final couple weekends of the season end up, and be sure to drop a follow here on NetFront Sports. You can catch all the action from the North Division and, of course, the South Division's chill, all their home games right here on NetFront Sports. Eric, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter Twitter and Instagram at CROW Eric. So it's KRAUSEARIK. I just one thing before we end. Hey, if you're in Alberta and you need something to do on a weekend, make it out to your local lacrosse game. It's $5 some places, $10. It's supposed to be $10 everywhere, but it's $5 some places. It's $10 everywhere else. It's probably the cheapest entertainment you're going to find, and we are coming down to the end of the season. There's going to be some intensity, hopefully, in those games. I'm hoping. That's what I wanted to mention earlier. I hope this North series and finals and stuff like that, the playoffs, I hope there's some intensity in it, because for right now, there doesn't seem like there's any hatred between the teams, and that hatred and stuff usually comes out in the playoffs. So I'd like to see that. So yeah, if you are in Alberta, get on down to your local, floor, watch some lacrosse, and if not, you can watch most of these games by the end of the season here on the NetFront Sports Network YouTube channel.
Absolutely, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Keenan, KEENEN_KM. Both on Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow NetFront Sports at NetFront_sports on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Well, thanks so much for tuning in here to the Junior Beast, and we'll see you next week.